Hi all, today we are going to discuss about shearing bridge. So it is widely used for the measurement of capacitance, dielectric loss and power factor of unknown capacitors. So this is the most widely used out of all the methods for capacitance measurement. So in this case the structure will be like this. Let us take this C1 is the unknown value of the capacitance of unknown capacitor and the loss that is happening, dielectric loss that is happening, because that is represented by a series resistance R1. In some cases you will observe that it may be represented in parallel. It is one and the same only value because there are two ways of representing the dielectric loss, either as a series resistance or as a shunt resistance. So we are following the series resistance notation because it is most commonly followed in every book. So now there will be a resistance R3 because it's non-inductive resistance, and there will be a standard capacitor C2. So here the C2 should be selected like that. It should have the high quality mica capacitor because in that case it will have very low loss. So we can neglect the dielectric loss in this capacitance for the case of general measurement. And if you want to go for the high voltage measurement, we go for the air capacitor because it is having high stable value and a small electric field. This is particularly used for high voltage insulation measurement. So whenever you are going for the capacitance of insulation, if you are measuring like capacitance of the bushings, capacitance of the insulating oil, so in those cases we prefer to go for air capacitor because it has high stable value and a small electric field will be there. And for normal measurements we always go for the mica capacitor because it is having low loss factor. So I hope it is clear to you, and there will be one variable capacitor which is connected in parallel with the variable resistor R4. So first let us try to draw the phasor diagram. Once the phasor diagram is over, then we will go for the balance equation and the equations, and we will see what modifications are required for high voltage shearing bridge, followed by some numericals that came in our previous IAS exams. So for this I am taking the voltage drop across the unknown capacitor, I am taking as E1, and voltage drop across the second one I am assuming the current is equal to I3 and the voltage is E3. Similarly in the lower side branch, voltage drop across this capacitor C2 I am taking as E2 and the current is I2. Similarly the current that is passing in this branch will be I4, so obviously voltage will be E4, and out of this I4 it is dividing into two components. One current is passing through the capacitance C4 that I am representing by IC, and the current that is passing through the resistance R4 I am representing by IR. So with these basics I am just proceeding. So we can write under balance conditions, we know the value of I3 will be equal to I1 because current passing through detector is equal to 0, and the value of I4 is equal to I2, and the value of the voltage E1 will be equal to E2 because potential difference across two sides of this bridge will be equal to 0. So like for example, if I am representing by A, B, C, D, this potential difference between B and D is equal to 0, or we can tell B and D are at same potential. That means E1 will be equal to E2 and E3 will be equal to E4, and E3 will be equal to E4. Let us try to write the equations. E1 will be current I1 multiplied by the impedance. Impedance is R1 minus j by omega C1, or this you can write as 1 by j omega C1 plus, because both are one and the same. So this will be equal to E2. E2 will be current passing through this one is I2, and the impedance will be minus j by omega C2. And if you are equating E3 to E4, so you will get it as I1 multiplied by R3, that is equal to E3, because I3 is equal to I1, I am directly writing it. So this will be equal to I2 multiplied by, so what are the components are there? R4 is in parallel with C4. So that one how to calculate, so that I have derived here. So let us see that one. So we can write 1 by Z4 because for parallel combination 1 by Z will be equal to 1 by respect to impedances. So impedance of this R4 circuit is 1 by R4, and impedance of this C4 will be 1 by, impedance is 1 by j omega C4. So 1 by j omega C4, j omega C4 come to numerator, and 1 by R4 is there. So if you simplify it, you will get it as 1 plus j omega C4 multiplied by R4 by R4, that is 1 by Z4. So from this I can tell that Z4 will be inverse of this one. So the same thing I am going to write here. So this I can write as R4 divided by 1 plus j omega C4 into R4. This is one way of representing, or this can be written as, because this voltage between these two nodes, that means between the nodes, this I am representing as A, B, C and D, between the nodes D and E is nothing but IC multiplied by the impedance of the capacitor, or we can tell it is nothing but equal to IR multiplied by impedance of this resistor circuit. So this I can write as IR multiplied by R4, or this I can write as, if you want only magnitude, magnitude can be there, I am writing with phasor also, this will be equal to minus J times of IC by omega C4. Using this also we can get it. So let us try to draw the phasor diagram. So after that we will proceed further. Again, for drawing the phasor diagram, we have to take something as my reference. So I am taking my current I1 as my reference for drawing the phasor diagram. So I am starting with this one. So I1 multiplied by R1. This is I1 multiplied by R1. So for I1 multiplied by R1, we have to add minus J times of I1 by omega C1. Minus J means it will be in the negative imaginary axis. So this will be minus J times of I1 by omega C1. So the sum of these two components, so that will give your voltage drop across this capacitor. What is the voltage drop across this capacitor? That is equal to E1. We know the value of E1 is nothing but equal to E2. E1 is nothing but equal to E2. Agree with me? So this E2 means this is equal to minus J times of I2 by omega C2. You can see here minus J times of I2 by omega C2. We know this minus J times of I2 by omega C2 will lag behind I2 by 90 degrees. You agree with me? So from this I can tell my value of I2 will be perpendicular to this one. So this will be my value of I2. That means this angle will be 90 degrees. Getting it? And the angle that is subtended, this one between minus J times of I1 by omega C1 and this one, that means the value of E1. So this angle is called as the loss angle. That loss angle is represented by delta. That loss angle is represented by delta, and the loss factor or the dissipation factor is given by tan delta. Dissipation factor will be given by tan delta. So that we will discuss. Let us complete the remaining part, then we will proceed further. So now coming to the second circuit, you can see here the value of this voltage E3 is I1 multiplied by R3. It will be in phase with I1. So this I can write as I1 multiplied by R3. I1 multiplied by R3, that is nothing but equal to E3. So this E3 I can write as IR multiplied by R4. IR multiplied by R4, or we can write as minus J times of IC divided by omega C4, which is equal to nothing but equal to E4. Agree with me? Because from these equations I have simplified. So from this we can get that IR multiplied by R4 is along this line, because always voltage drop through the resistor will be in phase with the current. So that means we can tell the current IR will be in line with this one. That means the current that is passing through the resistance will be in this line only. So we can tell that it will be in the same line. This is IR. So IR also along the same line. So now coming to minus J times of IC by omega C4 is coming. That means IC will be perpendicular to this axis. So the component of IC will be here. Actually we can tell this I2 is resolved into two components. One is IC and the second component will be equal to IR. Second component is equal to IR. So I am representing the exact value only. Getting it? So now if you want to calculate the total value of the EMF, so that will be the sum of E1 plus E3, or we can tell that E2 plus E4. So that gives your resultant value of the EMF. So this gives your resultant value of E, that is equal to E1 plus E3, or this is nothing but equal to E2 plus E4. So this gives my resultant value. So let us proceed further. So going for that, this is a dissipation factor. So dissipation factor, which is represented by D, that will be equal to tan of the angle, tan delta. So tan delta, you can see here, tan means opposite by adjacent. What is opposite? Opposite is I1 R1 and adjacent value is I1 by omega C1. So if you divide this one, so it will become R1 by 1 by omega C1. So what you will get it? You will get it as omega C1 into R1. So this is my dissipation factor. This is my dissipation factor. So let us calculate the power factor of the capacitor. So let us calculate power factor of capacitor, because this also came in previous IAS exam. Generally people confuse. So this will be equal to cos theta, where theta will be equal to 90 minus delta, because theta means, because it will be with respect to the current, how much this voltage E1 is lying, that angle is theta 1. So this angle, actually this indicates the angle theta. So cos theta is nothing but 90 minus delta. So cos 90 minus delta. So practically what happens, the value of delta is very small in practice. The value of delta is very small in practice because cos 90 minus delta, so I can write as sin delta. So sin delta means, what is the value of sin delta? Sin delta is opposite by hypotenuse. What is the opposite? Opposite is I1 R1 and hypotenuse value is E1, or it is nothing but we can tell that this hypotenuse is the sum of these two, that means square root of resistance component square plus reactance component square, or we can tell this one is nothing but R1 divided by the value Z1, R1 divided by Z1. Agree with me? So in practice, the delta is very less. Delta is very less. So we can approximate that the value, because of this one, we can approximate that the value of x1 is far less than, this value of R1 is far greater than R1, so that we can represent that Z1 is approximately equal to X1. That means whatever is the impedance, because R is very less compared to the reactance, because delta is very less means R is very less. So that's why we can approximate the impedance as nearly equal to the reactance, nearly equal to the capacitive reactance. Getting it? So if you are substituting this one, so from this we can calculate the value of cos theta. Cos theta is approximately equal to R1 divided by X1. That means this is equal to R1 divided by what is X1? 1 by omega C1. So this will be equal to omega C1 into R1. So this is nothing but equal to dissipation factor. So in practice, power factor angle is nothing but equal to dissipation factor. So therefore, in practice, we can take cos theta, that means power factor will be equal to dissipation factor is equal to tan delta is equal to omega C1 into R1. So let us take it as equation number 1. So now let us proceed further. So let us calculate under balance condition how to calculate this capacitance. So again first we will see how to calculate Z4. 1 by Z4 is equal to, because parallel circuit, 1 by resultant value of impedance is equal to 1 by impedance of the first one plus 1 by impedance of the second one and so on. So I have just take the sum, so you will get it like this. So from this Z4 will be inverse 1 by of this one, that means R4 by 1 by j omega C4 R4. With these basics, under balance condition, we know Z1 multiplied by Z4 will be equal to Z2 multiplied by Z3, because product of opposite branch impedances is same. So I am writing Z1 is equal to R1 plus 1 by j omega C1. Even you can write it as minus j by omega C1, you will get same. So multiplied by Z4. Z4 is R4 divided by 1 plus j omega C4 into R4 is equal to Z2 multiplied by Z3. Z2 is 1 by j omega C2, or you can write as minus j by omega C2. Both cases you will get same answer, multiplied by impedance of this one, that is R3. So from this I can separate the real and imaginary part. So real part will be R1 multiplied by R4. So whatever is there, 1 plus j omega C4 R4, I am taking to second side. So the second one will be R4 by j omega C1 is equal to, this one multiplied in the second side, it becomes R3 by j omega C2 plus R3 by, because R3 we have to multiply with this term. So this will be R3 C4 R4 divided by C2. JJ will cancel. So this will come like this. So from this, by comparing the real and imaginary terms on both the sides, we will get the value of small r1 is equal to R3 into C4 by C2, and we will get the value of C1 will be equal to C2 into R4 by R3. So we can see here we got the value of R1 also, C1 also. So in this, if you select the independent components, that means the component should come only in one of these equations, then getting the balance will be very easy, as we have discussed before. Out of these two, you can see the independent values will be C4 from here and the value of R4 from here. They are appearing in only one equations. So if you are varying this, we can get the balance easily. And we have already discussed the dissipation factor is omega C1 into R1. So I am substituting the value of C1 and R1 from here. You will get it as, if you simplify, omega C4 into R4. So in practice, in permanently shut up shearing bridges. So what we will do, instead of varying the value of C4 and R4, we don't vary both, because if you are varying C4 and R4, you can see every time we have to calculate the dissipation factor. But if you want to directly measure the dissipation factor in terms of capacitance C4, then obviously we have to take R4 as constant, because anyway your supply frequency will be constant, because your supply source voltage frequency is constant. So that's why R4 is generally kept constant, but when you are keeping R4 constant, because C2 is already constant, so what is the other variable which can be varied? That is R3. But if you are varying R3, R3 is appearing in both the equations. So as it is appearing in both equations, that means it is not independent. So balance will be little complex. But still, in order to get the reading directly in terms of C4 in permanently shut up shearing bridges, only in the case of permanently shut up shearing bridges, so C2 and R4 are kept constant and the variables will be equal to R3 and C4. Variable will be R3 and C4 are varied to get the balance, so that we can get the reading directly in terms of C4. Now coming to the high voltage shearing bridges, where they are used. So these are used for measurement of capacitance and dissipation factors for bushings, insulating oils and other insulating materials which has very small capacitances of the order of picofarads, and we can measure with an accuracy of plus or minus 2%. That is the advantage of high voltage shearing bridge. So in this case we use the high voltage. How to get this high voltage? That high voltage is obtained by using a step up transformer, because your supply frequency is 50 Hz, here frequency will be 50 Hz only, and the voltage is stepped up to high voltages using the step up transformer. So this high voltage is given to the circuit. As the high voltage is given to the circuit, we have to take care that, because this varying these things, because tuning of C4 and R4 is done manually by the people. So whichever person is operating this, you should have the safety. So in order to provide the safety, some modifications will be required here. So let us see one by one. First one is earthed screens are provided to avoid errors caused due to intercapacitance between high and low voltage arms. So what is this high and low voltage arms? We are going to discuss in the next coming points. So in order to provide this proper intercapacitance effect to avoid, so what we will do, we will provide some screens. Earth screens are provided like this. So these earth screens are connected to ground. So that means because of these screens are connected to ground, so the effect of intercapacitance effect will not be there. And second one, because in this case generally, because these capacitances are very small, that means impedance will be equal to 1 by omega c, and frequency is less but capacitance is also less, so automatically the impedance is very high. So as the impedance is very high, the current drawn will be very less even though you are applying very high voltage. That means whichever detector is used, that detector should be so much sensitive, then only it can detect that much of small value of the currents. Like you can see here, Xc is equal to 1 by j omega c. Here omega is equal to 50 Hz and c is in picofarads. So obviously the impedance is very high, so current will be very less. And the next one care should be taken. Wagner earthing device is used to avoid the earth capacitance effect on the galvanometer. What is Wagner earthing device? I will discuss after completing all the AC bridges. So then as the impedances, this Cx and C3 are very large because the capacitance is less. So major portion of the voltage drop across them only, and very less voltage will appear across the remaining branches. That means out of the high voltage that you have given here, majority of the voltage will drop across this value and across this capacitance, and very less voltage will drop across this, which will be always less than 100 volts. So automatically we can tell that voltage at the point B and D, that means voltage across the detector is also very less, and voltage across these branches, that means BC and DC are very less in practice. So that's why as the voltage drop is very less there, so there is a safety for the personnel who are operating. But we know in the case of AC, alternately each side will get the positive. That means one half cycle this will be positive, another half cycle this will be positive. If personnel who are operating here, in order to provide the safety, we have to take this point as my reference point. So what we will do, this point C is taken as a reference point and connected to ground. That means with respect to this point, for half cycle A will be extremely positive high value, and another half cycle it will be negative value, but this point is always at the ground potential. So with respect to this ground potential, this potential, that means potential drop across these elements which are varied by the human beings, so that voltage is within 100 volts. So there is a safety for the personnel who who are operating. So that's why it is always earthed. That is the next one you have to observe. And the next one, because sometimes due to some reason, let us assume this capacitance or this capacitance is damaged. So when this capacitance is damaged, so because this one is gone now, it is short circuit. So this entire voltage appear across this resistance R2 and this entire voltage appear across this branch C4 and R4. So whichever personnel are operating here, they will be in danger. So in order to provide the safety for them, what we do, we provide some arcing grounds or arcing horns are provided, or which is also called as spark gap. So spark gap is provided in order to protect the personnel. So this spark gap is provided in such a way that it will break down for about 100 volts. That means up to 100 volts it will act as an open circuit. If the voltage crosses 100 volts, this spark gap will produce a spark between the contacts and entire voltage will be bypassed to ground. So as the entire voltage is bypassed to ground, high current passes and your fuse connected to your supply will trip immediately. That means the persons who are operating this equipment will be always safe. That is the major concern. So these precautions should be taken care. I hope the high voltage shearing bridge is clear to you. So let us take one example which is given in previous IAS exam. It came in IAS 2004. So in a test on a backlight sample at 20 kV, 50 Hz by a shearing bridge having a standard capacitor of 106 picofarad, balance was obtained with a capacitance of 0.35 microfarads in parallel with a non-inductive resistance of 318 ohms. The non-inductive resistance in the remaining arm of the bridge is 130 ohms. Calculate the power factor and equivalent series resistance of the capacitor. This is the question that is given. So based on this question, I have drawn the circuit. So this R1 and C1 are the unknown value of capacitance and leakage. That means loss component of this capacitor, unknown capacitor, and R3 is already mentioned there, it is equal to 130 ohms, and the value of C4 and R4 are mentioned as 0.35 ohms and 318 ohms, and the value of C2 is mentioned as 106 picofarads, and the supply is given as 20 kV 50 Hz. So let us try to calculate the values. So here I am directly calculating the value. C1 is equal to R4 by R3 into C2. So when you substitute, you will get it as 259.29 microfarads, and the value of R1 is R3 C4 by C2. You will get it as 429.25 kilo ohms. So now it is asked to calculate the power factor. I have already discussed with you that when the angle is very small, that means when dielectric loss angle is very small, we can approximate the power factor angle as is equal to same nothing but equal to tan delta. So if you calculate the cos phi or tan delta is omega C1 into R1, that is 2 pi into 50 into C1 I have substituted, R1 substituted, you will get it as 0.035. So this is the value of power factor of the capacitor. Or if in another numerical, that means another exam in around 2006 I hope. So again some numerical came in the IAS exam only. Instead of power factor, they asked the dielectric loss angle. So dielectric loss angle will be delta is tan inverse of omega C1 into R1. So up to here procedure is same. Omega C1 R1 you have to calculate. Take the tan inverse of this one. So in this numerical, if you calculate, you will get it as equal to 2 degrees. So in this way, they will ask either generally dielectric loss angle or power factor, or calculate the value of C1 and R1. Only these numericals can come related to the shearing bridge. I hope what is shearing bridge, what is high voltage shearing bridge, and how it works is completely clear to you. If you still have any queries, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. I will answer to your queries from there. Thank you very much.